Konbanwa Minasan. We are tuned in for another episode of album discussions. Now, originally I was saying I probably wasn't going to do this today, but I was on a call, a Zoom call with this media matrix family about manifesting and a law of attraction or whatever, and they were frustrating the hell out of me, telling me to go do some TikTok nonsense. I'm not with the TikTok crap. First of all, FYI, in case anybody didn't know this, your music is automatically distributed when you click on all distributors through TuneCore. So my music would already be on TikTok. I thought about it. I'm like, well, that's not making any visible difference that I could see. And I'm not going to go on there, use somebody else's music and make some bogus ass video because that's not me. I'm Super Kami Guru Alucard. I make my own damn music. And if I'm going to make a music video, where do you find music videos generally? And I mean full videos, not this TikTok nonsense. You find them on YouTube. So YouTube is the platform I stick with. YouTube has been the platform I have listened to music, released music for a long time, and that's what I'm comfortable with. And it's not about like getting out of my comfort zone to become more successful. It has nothing to do with that. My problem is this TikTok crap that is such a phenomenon with the world is people making dumb videos taking other people's music. And it's like that isn't going to help me any. I don't want to take somebody else's music. I make my own music. And it's like, I don't need to make no TikTok videos. If I'm going to make a video for any of my music, then I'm going to release a full flat out music video and put it on YouTube. You feel me? That's how Super Kami Guru Alucard does things. And I think about it like this. Jay-Z ain't wasting his time on TikTok. None of these big artists of the past who were hugely successful as rappers and singers and jazz artists and Japanese pop artists. I guarantee even Hitomi Shibatani doesn't waste time on TikTok. I follow her and her personal life very exclusively, and I can tell. I've never seen her once mention TikTok. So I don't think people in Japan mess with that TikTok nonsense, being honest. Just saying. If they do, it's on a very minimum scale. In fact, even Chihara Minori never mentioned TikTok. She mentioned that, she's obviously taking a break from music for a while, but that you could find contact to her on Twitter and Line and YouTube and all this. She did not mention TikTok. So I was like, you know what? I don't think TikTok is really a big thing in Japan, which is where my target audience would be. So they're like, TikTok. I'm like, about a clock, man. I don't need no damn TikTok. Do I look like a clock? Now, if I'm singing the song from Card Captor Sakura Clear Card, rewind, then yeah, I might go tick tock, but that's a whole different thing. Just cracking a joke to make like a frustrating situation a little more lighthearted. Anyway, we will get into tonight's album discussion, which is about my 7th solo album, Parallel Reality, Volume 1, because there will be the second volume actually released near the end of this month. This one was released on the last day of June this year. So it's a 20-track album, and it's like Parallel Reality Volume 2. They're both very similar. It was kind of a combination of songs I was recording as I was making the S.O.S. Brigade Quartet albums that didn't make the final cuts of My Unique Valentine, Expressions of One's Heart, and even the album that's fully dedicated to Hitomi to be released on her birthday in September, A Big Bounce to the Ideal Reality. So these were album songs that were made in the process of going through drama with this one girl named Shannon. A few other girls liked me. There was drama with friends. There was all this crazy stuff going on. And like I said, like Clear Card and Card Captor Sakura, something happens and I turn that experience into a song. I'm very mystical like that, right? Like I take that memory or that idea of that situation and I form it into a song. So with all the songs on Parallel Reality Volume 1 and Parallel Reality Volume 2, you would notice that there's a common theme of randomness. But the randomness accounts for, okay, I don't want to focus on that. That's not what I love. That's not the real reality that I'm in, the goals, the path that I'm heading towards. But they're still good songs. Might as well use them, put them out there. The audience could see how things may have turned out differently if I kept heading down certain paths. So you could look at it as every song on this record and Parallel Reality Volume 2 would be sort of different directions I took musically where it could have led me down different paths, which makes it very unique because you get to see kind of the backstory, like almost like bonus features, deleted scenes kind of content that you would get in a movie, where it's the scenes that are left out of the main movie, but they exist as like bonus features. That's how you could really look at like Parallel Reality Volume 1, Parallel Reality Volume 2. So it's a 20 track album, and it starts with How to Shift Reality intro, which is 34 seconds, just spoken word. But the idea of that is that because I knew what I wanted, I was making the decision, I'm getting what I want, I'm going for it. I don't care what obstacles come in the way, I don't care what challenges happen. I know what I want, I know what I love, and that's what's important. That's what I'm choosing to focus on. So, what do you do with everything that was or would have been, so to speak, right? Well, you separate it. You shift into the reality you want by assuming you're the man you want to be and that things are working out the way you intend them to be, the way you would desire for them to be, and you leave all that other stuff, ideas, memories, feelings, thoughts, emotions, whatever. You sort of separate that gap. You basically cut that like tie of the chain off, and it basically is its own chain. So that's why it starts out with that, because it's letting the audience know, okay, this is no longer my current reality. This is residue or memories of other realities or other situations that no longer apply, that no longer serve me. However, they exist. As I said, you could look at it as bonus features or deleted scenes of the Super Kami Guru Alucard Chronicles, which is the story of my life. So that's where the idea of how to shift reality. You know it's there, but you're cutting it off. You're separating it from your current reality and leaving it for what it is. Now, there is certain things you like, certain things you keep. It's like rearranging mental furniture, the way Neville Goddard described it, right? Which is why it leads into the next song, A Good Man, which has a reference to an instrumental used in the new Twin Peaks series that I thought, hey, nobody actually made a song with that. That's a good beat. Somebody should make a song with that. So I did. And sure enough, I rapped in it in Japanese. I did the chorus in Japanese, mostly Japanese, a bit of English in it. The first verse is English. There were a few parts in the Japanese verse that are English, but most of it's actually all Japanese. Then there's the sax solo. And the idea of that song is actually saying how no matter what anybody says about me, no matter what anybody would look at me as my character or who I am, who I was, whatever, they'd have to agree that ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm both a good artist and a good man. And I'm living life sweet, hence the Japanese chorus. A Good Man was actually probably one of my favorite songs that I really liked on Parallel Reality 1. Now, the cover design, oddly enough, before we get back into the track listing, I just wanted to mention this. The cover is actually based on a scene that appears in one of the episodes of Haruhi Suzumiya. I made the cover like that because they go into like a sand dune sort of parallel reality within the computer club president's room. And there's this giant camel cricket and they battle it. So I kind of separated this album, this identity, these old concepts or songs or ideas of me, and sort of put it in its own separate reality, its own parallel reality, and closed it off. And that's how you would look at like the cover as sort of an indication. It's like that parallel reality in Haruhi Suzumiya. That's what the cover represents. So it's its own sort of dimension, everything in this album. However, there is similarities that are undisputable. You look at it as if we exist in one reality and multiple realities are coexisting simultaneously. There's certain things that are the same in all the realities. However, there might be slight differences in one that aren't in another, and that's how you would look at it. So the idea of a good man is some of the good character remaining, which led to the shift. It's almost like you could look at the album going backwards. Like at the end of the album, it's something completely different than what I am now. However, by leading from the end to the beginning, you get the shift, which is How to Shift into Reality, A Good Man. And then we get into Watch Out feature in Retrospect, which was a song originally intended to be released for what he would have wanted to do as his debut album, but then he kind of lost the inspiration, the motivation to do it. There were disputes. We had a fallout. We weren't communicating that well at the time. It was just too hard to get work done in a specific deadline of time. The way I work as Super Comic Guru Alucard, I'm very prolific, right? But the song was really good. It was inspired by a big Punisher and Fat Joe song. It was actually Fat Joe's song on Jealous One's Envy, which featured Big Pun on one of his first appearances, as well as Armageddon and Keith Nutt. The idea of the song, the instrumentation, all of that, it stems from the idea of that inspiration. And that was the goal I made trying to make that song. And it's really hype. It's like more similar to the old 12 gauge style of rapping, as well as like, the earlier Super Comic Guru Alucard sort of references leading up to it. So it's its own separate world that no longer applies to the current reality. So Let Loose be the old version in that sort of reality is fine. And that's how I sort of cut it off. Anything goes in that dimension because it's a dimension other than the dimension I am currently in. And then we get into Congratulations, which in this reality, I could have become more successful doing these kind of 12 gauge traditional songs, doing things the way I like would have done them back in the past. In this reality, things worked out entirely differently. However, I still got the congratulations, as the same with any of the realities. I'm a very good artist. I would reach success. I would get congratulated for it, and everything would work out in one way or another in all the different realities. So Congratulations is the idea behind that song. And it does actually take a bit of influence and reference from Kanye West, Late Registration, and The College Dropout is kind of a bit of behind the song. But very good idea. It was actually a lot of fun to make. Congratulations. Now, with this album, all the instrumentation is produced, mixed, mastered, and composed by me. Like everything's all my own. And there is some parts that are just purely jazz pieces, but this actually is the more solid hip hop album of any of the ones I've made in a long time. It's a very lengthy album. It's actually an hour and 11 minutes long, which is funny because there's the numerical symbol of 3 digits, 111, which is crazy because I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh yeah, 1 hour and 11 minutes, which you would actually look at it as that would be 71 minutes. But if you look at it on iTunes and it says 1 hour and 11 minutes, you're seeing 111. So it's very cool. And then it leads into the instrumental part, which is a minute and 40 seconds long. And that is the Next Chapter Begins. So it's like an instrumental break in the album. You've already heard How to Shift Reality intro, A Good Man, Watch Out feature in Retrospect, Congratulations. Then the Next Chapter Begins. Then it goes into this song called Run It, which was inspired slightly from a Chris Brown tune he did called Run It with Joel Santana, but also this Tony Yayo song with The Game. It was actually The Game song featuring Tony Yayo from the documentary that I really liked. So the idea of that came out. And there's the sample of Run It, Run It. And that's where like the idea of that came. It's very old school sounding, but cool. And then we get into the next song, Struggles with Mr. Noodles, because I really like eating my Mr. Noodles, like, homemade ramen, and the way they make like ramen in Japanese restaurants is way better. But hey, when you're going through struggles, I like to eat my noodles. I eat them with chopsticks, and, kind of makes me feel like I'm already living in Japan, even if I'm currently not able to feel like I am in some ways. If I'm sitting there eating, my noodles with chopsticks, I almost can imagine what it would be like to be in Japan. And I kind of like that feeling. So there's struggles, but there's Mr. Noodles. So it's good. It's got its ups and downs. And actually, I gave shout outs to my one friend, Heather. She's no longer my friend. She was actually somebody I helped out who complained that she didn't have money for shoes that they had holes in. I sent her money for the shoes, and then she goes and spends it on like drugs and all this nonsense. And I'm like, I gave you the money for those shoes so you could go get a job and Like, try and help yourself out of the position you're in. Like, I get it. You don't have shoes, can't really go anywhere, get a job, work on yourself, which is what I was trying to teach her to do. She didn't listen. That severed the friendship. What's cool about Struggles with Mr. Noodles too is I actually completely freestyled that song. I didn't write that one down. That was the first time in a long time where I had just freestyled something. Everything in Struggles with Mr. Noodles was completely made off the top of my head. I just thought of an idea, I recorded it. Bam. No time to write, nothing. So very interesting. And then, of course, especially because I mentioned Shannon and My Unique Valentine and Expressions of One's Heart, people would probably become familiar with the character. So, Feel the Groove actually features her on the outro, and it also has samples of Chet Baker scratched into the beginning. So, it's very interesting, and it's actually based on an idea of an old mixtape song I did. Where I used a Boogie Monsters instrumental. Back when I was MC Key and CRM, I did a song like this. And I revamped that because I liked the chorus. So I redid it. I remade it my own. Whole beat, everything. Did the scratching with the Chet Baker sample because I really liked what he said. It made me laugh. So thought it was funny. I'd throw that in there. And then Shannon actually did the outro on that song, which is cool. And oddly enough, one thing I could say, just so the audience doesn't have a strong dislike of Shannon or not like her character, I actually had made peace with her yesterday. She surprisingly messaged me out of the blue and was actually happy for me that I'm in love with Hitomi now, oddly enough. And she apologized for ever hurting me and that she never wanted to. So, you know what? I'm not going to drag the conversation on any longer. I'm not really going to go pursue that because of what she said. But it's nice to hear that you actually got an apology. And I guess that's the positive note to end that relationship on and leave it there, right? That's how I look at it. So the story kind of actually has a happy ending, surprisingly enough. And then we get into the next instrumental piece, which is based on a theme in the video game Dark Cloud 2, called The Never Ending Adventure, which I changed. I made my own version, me playing the instrumentation on all of it, and then adding saxophone. So it's a completely different instrumentation. It's a slight change of the melody in some ways too, but it is a reference to that, and that's why it's called On to a New Adventure, because now that reality has shifted, that reality will keep going its own merry way and it will go on new adventures as well as the current reality that I'm inhabiting, the ideal reality, right? So that's how I looked at it, on to a new adventure. So yeah, this is a very complex record. I'm sure anybody who's watching this, they're like, keeps talking about all these parallel realities. He's talking about like a whole different universe where things unfolded differently. It is very complex, but it makes a hell of an interesting story. It's very cool. I like that about it. So next we get into the track Transcendental Meditation, which I had studied for a while. I really like the benefits of it too. And one thing I could say about it is there's kind of a truth to something Neville Goddard said, is that you don't actually have to pay $500 to learn how to do it. You simply, to meditate, you just simply decide what you want, feel as though you already had it, and you dwell in that state of having it like that. Oh, that's so wonderful. I was so happy I have it. Because then you feel calm, you feel relaxed, you feel happy, you feel at peace, you feel all these good sensations. So you don't actually have to pay for transcendental meditation. One thing I could tell you is I actually learned how to do it before I started studying all this stuff last year, and I learned it by myself, just looking up certain information about it. They try to charge you $500. You don't need to pay. If you look through the internet closely enough, you can actually find out how to do it. The idea is calming your mind with a specific chant. Now, you find chants that have one syllable that have a calming effect when you chant them. And you chant them over and over again within your mind. You don't chant them out loud. You chant them within you. And I know because as you do it, you can actually view the internal world. So I did experiment with this. It's quite fascinating. I was doing this around the time I was having my teeth taken out because I was very nervous. I was very scared. And that was a way of calming myself. Although I do know now that with transcendental meditation too, there are actually better and more sufficient ways to meditate than that. However, that's it is a good one once you know how to do it. And it's not like you have to pay for it or whatever. If you actually learn the technique and do it right, it actually is very effective at calming the spirit. It's very good in that sense. Although finding stillness, peace, and quiet in my environment is a whole another battle and difficult journey in itself, right? So that's where the struggle came about with that. But the chant that I use, which is reflected in the song, I'm doing the show. I am. What were you gonna say, Belle? Sorry, I was just gonna see what she wanted anyway, quickly. But anyways, okay, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the chant that I use in the song Transcendental Meditation is the one that I learned. There were a few on the internet, but this one I could remember very well. So I incorporated it into the melody of the song. And what I would do is I would chant in my mind, like inside, not out loud, but just Om, and you just do that over and over again. You do it for about 20 minutes, and you actually will start to feel like the release of tension. It does work. In fact, I was building like these big buildings, building temples, all this crazy stuff inside like my mind when I was doing it. And oddly enough, what I could say about it was before I started building, when I was just chanting it, I would see these buildings begin to form, and it was in like this blank white space, which reminded me a lot of the hyperbolic time chamber in Dragon Ball Z. That's what it honestly reminded me of when I did that. I've seen that many times when I've meditated in different ways. It's very interesting, like the internal world turning into a world like the hyperbolic time chamber. So that's where Transcendental Meditation came out. And it would actually have been the first song on the album that I was intending to make for Shannon. However, that album got scrapped, especially when we had our fallout. She kind of ghosted me, didn't feel like doing it anymore. But that was one of the songs that would have been the first song on that album. And then we get into a song where I actually mixed in Hindu and Indian music, try something new, experimenting. I made a friend from there, and I made the song called Shreya based on that. It's got a real like Indian Hindu kind of vibe, just experimenting, trying new things, especially because in this reality, everything is totally different than the current reality. I thought I'd do that. And then it leads into Chadima's ballad, which was this girl from Cameroon who liked me for a while. And oddly enough, I actually did date somebody from Cameroon back in the day, which was cool. They speak English and French there. In fact, she was surprised that I could speak better French than her, being in Canada, and she's around French all the time in Cameroon. So it was very interesting. But yeah, things didn't work out. She wasn't, he told me, and that's just kind of how things turned out. The next track, Keeping My Chops Up, which is purely instrumental, was also intended to be on that album for Shannon, but didn't see the light of day. Very jazzy, purely instrumental composition, and was kind of trying to stay upbeat and positive even when you're going through the hard times, right? Like that was the idea behind that. That's what the melody reflects. And then we get into the song Two-Faced, which is almost like a diss track against who was formerly one of my best friends, Tony OG Lokdong, because he really hurt me and upset me, and I really needed to get that anger off my chest and those negative feelings. Not to actually do anything to physically hurt him, but just get that emotion out of my system, which is why I left that in the parallel reality. Like, that no longer serves me, leave it behind. I vented it. I told my story. I got that pain outside of me. I no longer have to think it anymore. I'm free of it. So that was the idea behind Two-Face. And then we get into Lifesavers Park Ambush, where it's like imagining like all the alter egos within me and myself are all meeting at Lifesavers Park to like drop some crazy lyrics and bring it back to the old school hip hop days. Now, a real Steel City OG is the next track, and it's got Willie the Lion references. It's got a very old school hip hop jazzy vibe to the beat. And that song was, in a way, kind of critiquing the fact that OG Lope Dog, in retrospect, never have made their own solo records, even though they could have, and they were not dedicated as me enough to do it. Which there's many examples of that with a lot of artists I've worked with throughout my career. A guy named LG, a guy named Jesse James, Little Bimboy or Captain Hook. All these great rappers, even Illy DeWilly, Barbershop, all these cats, they all could have made some great records, but they just didn't have the drive to keep persisting towards their career when the going got tough. They'd give up, they'd go work some other job, they'd just say it's not for me. I'm the only one that held on and decided, no, I'm an artist, I'm going to be an artist till I die, and I'm going to keep making music no matter what. I don't care about none of that other nonsense. I'm the one who stayed true. I'm the one who stuck with the music industry and making music even when the going got tough. And that's what you could say about me. I'm the real Steel City OG because I never gave up, no matter my circumstances, no matter my environment, no matter how difficult it was to keep making music, to keep pursuing my dreams on this quest to be an artist. I'm still doing it, and I ain't giving up, and I ain't ever going to give up. And that's the idea of the real Steel City G OG stands true. And that's what the idea behind that song is. I have to make this slight edit here because that's not right. I don't even know why that's like that. I gotta make sure that that's not the same in another one. So next we get into the instrumental composition, Lullaby for a Lovely Lady, which also would have been on the album for Shannon. Instrumental composition. It's not too long either. It's almost 5 minutes, but at the same time, it takes you on a really musical sort of epitaph. It's very relaxing, traditional, smooth jazz kind of thing. And then we get into the track Never Regret You, where it talks about this other girl I liked named Pamela, and that I had always wanted a chance with her. And if she had actually given me a chance back then, I would never have regretted her, no matter what people say about her. There were some nasty rumors. People made fun of her. But if she had actually given me a chance, I would have treated her very well, and I wouldn't have regretted her. As I said, that's no longer me. He told me he's my true love. So separated that, left that in a parallel reality as well. Now, even in the parallel reality, I have big dreams. Hence the next song, Big Dreams, which was an idea of a song that retrospect actually could have potentially done, same as Run It, but he didn't end up doing it. So that became my own spin on Big Dreams. Then we get into the final instrumental piece and final track on the album, Smooth Monday Twilight, which is a very beautiful, traditionally like jazzy vibe song. And actually, it reminds me of the John Coltrane composition called I'm Old Fashioned. That's what it reminded me of. When I was playing it, that's the idea that came to mind. And I could honestly tell you that as far as the instrumental pieces on the album is actually probably one of my favorites on the record. That one person with the spammy comments, like, do you not have a life? Honestly, like, I swear that guy always comments on these videos asking like ridiculous questions, trying to heckle me. And it's like, do you not have a life? You're either here to learn or you're here to bother me. And if you're going to bother me, skedaddle. Take that nonsense elsewhere. I don't have time for it. I'm not even justifying that first question because it doesn't even make sense. Like, you realize what you're asking me, right? I didn't once mention anything to do with shamans. Like, maybe the Om chant could be considered like shamans, but I didn't once mention anything to do with shamans. So, and first of all, that's not how you spell shaman. Look it up. That's not how you spell it. You misspelled it. So, go back to grammar school. And then what's my reality? I don't know. What reality are you in? What reality are you choosing to live? Are you choosing to be the man you want to be? Are you assuming to be the man you want to be? Well, if you really were the man you want to be, I'll tell you this much. You wouldn't be heckling me. You'd be going out there doing something productive for society, being happy and living your life to the fullest. And you wouldn't have the time or the need to bother and heckle me on my videos. So I don't think you even know what your reality is. Straight up. And then Tony dish you back? No. because that's the end of the friendship. If he did diss me back, I wouldn't know of it. That was just to separate that, leave that behind in a different reality, and vent out my frustrations. Now he hurt me, he betrayed the friendship. That's it. It was just meant to get the emotions out of my chest and vent it off. Now, he could have dissed me. I don't know. Don't really care. The point is, I said my story coming from the point of view where he did me wrong. Therefore, he wouldn't really have anything to retaliate against me back and say. The reality is, he screwed me over. He couldn't be there when I needed him to be there as a friend, and he took my movies. He stole those movies that were given to me by somebody I loved. Therefore, he is completely wrong and at fault. There is nothing to retaliate or diss me back for. Seriously, if you're going to heckle me and give me crap, at least do your homework first. Anyways, people, now that we've gotten the annoying heckler out of the way, because he just loves to join in these videos and give me a hard time, I hope everybody enjoyed actually hearing about the album, because it is a really unique album, and the approach of looking at things from different realities and sort of expanding on the knowledge of quantum physics, and that there's multiple timelines and time streams or realities coexisting simultaneously was an interesting thing I learned, which I really wanted to display and use to my advantage musically, which is why I decided to make these albums. Not only Parallel Reality 1, but Parallel Reality 2, which will come out at the end of the month. And I advise everybody definitely check them out, especially like if you wanted my personal opinion of what my favorite songs on the record were. A Good Man was actually my favorite song because I do actually confess that I'm leaving this old reality behind because I love Hitomi and Chihara more than anyone. That's why I left that reality behind. I had to leave that reality to become the man that I want to be. And that was the idea behind it. So, and I would also say, okay, that's definitely one of my favorites. Watch Out, feature in retrospect, was another one of the really good ones. That was one of the last songs we actually made together. Although we might be making a song for my new album, A Point to Prove. It's yet to be decided because I might end up doing two albums, one all in Japanese, and then another where I collaborate with the S.O.S Brigade again. So that is yet to be determined. However, yeah, if I was to pick top three songs on the record, A Real Steel City OG, that's one of them. I would actually put that probably as number three. Number two would definitely be, well, it's a tie between Watch Out feature in retrospect and Feel the Groove featuring Shannon Lynn. And number one is definitely A Good Man. A Good Man was such a great song. I'm still to this day very proud of that song. I actually consider it one of the best songs that I ever made. So I really love A Good Man. I would definitely advise anybody to check them out. And yeah, check the albums out on YouTube if you like them. Definitely check out the link below in the description at the end of this video if you would like information on where to buy them. And yeah, he's back. I know Ab's up in here. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh, not this guy again, right? But anyways, yeah, it's a very good record. So definitely check it out on YouTube. The link to buy it on iTunes is in the description. And I hope everybody will keep supporting the adventures of Super Kami Guru Alucard and making all this great music, because I love making it, even through the good and the bad times, even when you got hecklers like that bothering you, even when you got people telling you to go on TikTok, even when you got friends betraying you or getting lazy and not making the music they should. Hey, through all the ups and downs, it's fun being an artist. It's very enjoyable. I wouldn't have it any other way. That's why, despite all the ups and downs I've gone through, I'm still doing it. All the other artists around me in this town, they gave up, but I didn't give up. I kept that dream in my heart, and I will keep that dream in my heart always. So as Super Kami Guru Alucard, thank you for watching. I hope you will continue to support me in all my endeavors, and I appreciate everybody's support. Domo arigatou gozaimasu. Minasan, oyasumi nasai. Mata ne. Super Kami Guru Alucard. Peace out.